Welcome back everyone to the WAM, the Wrestling Association of the Mid-South here in TEW 9. We're running Mark Northern's Effganic Genesis mod, and we've already got our first show booked for the episode. As you can see down below, we've got a massive list of morale issues that we are tackling and dealing with, and we've got some things in place, but we're just going to have to see what kind of effects that they have. But I don't have too much yapping to do at you right now. Let's just get right into the first show. We've got 3 pre-show matches to get through before the actual card itself, and let's get right into it. Jeremy Funderburk, the funnest man in the WAM, going one-on-one with Sebastian Morales, a very established, renowned, legitimate heavyweight, and Sebastian Morales just welcomes Jeremy Funderburk to the WAM with a punishing performance, and Sebastian Morales picks up the victory, of course. They've got great chemistry, so it really raised the match. Sebastian Morales had an in-ring performance of 51, and Jeremy Funderburk, he is getting a little bit better. We see a 24 from him, and we get a match rating of 39 in this pre-show match. Next one, 2 new faces to the WAM, still trying to get them attuned and acclimated into the WAM and our way of doing things. Matu Scarborough and Rocco Lockwood. Matu Scarborough is much more established than Rocco Lockwood is, so he picks up the victory here. And you can see we've got a number of things working against us in this match. Rocco Lockwood being rusty and visibly tired towards the end. He's got awful stamina, but some potential to grow as a competitor. So we're going to try to push him as much as we can. And Matu Scarborough gets the nod here, picking up the victory, but they just get a segment rating of 20. These two just put together a segment rating of 24. As you can see, Matu Scarborough not terrible at 33, but Rocco Lockwood has got some work to do, just getting a 10 here. Our final pre-show match has got women's tag team action as Kuni Hashiguchi and Veronica Lutter take on the team of Ivy Baldridge and Sloane Knutson. And of course, Kuni Hashiguchi is the one to collect the pinfall over Sloane Knutson in this one. Kuni Hashiguchi with an in-ring performance of 38, Veronica Lutter not far behind at 36, Ivy Baldridge had a 24, and Sloane Knutson had an 18. But that's all we've got for our pre-show matches. Now we get into the Fortnite Fistcuff show itself. Neil Allman welcomes the crowd to the show, proudly toting the WAM Heavyweight Championship as he did win it at our last event. Neil Allman states that he told everyone he'd make good on his promise, and that everyone can take a breath of relief knowing a true WAM superstar is once again leading the company. I've said it 100 times before, and I'm sure I'll say it again, but Neil Allman just money on the mic, so we're giving the new heavyweight champion another opportunity to speak to the crowd and flex that charisma of his. Our first match of the night features Christopher Hartwell and the freshly returned RT Lincoln. Christopher Hartwell is making his last appearance here in the WAM due to his sleazy personality. It's just too much of a detriment. The man is a competent worker amongst other companies, but he just doesn't have an irreplaceable spot here in the WAM right now. So RT Lincoln picks up a victory with a great in-ring performance of 46. Christopher Hartwell says farewell to the WAM, at least for now, with an in-ring performance of 32, and we get a match rating of 40 for our first match of the night. Moving on into the next contest, we've got Craig Bean, Turner Spittler going one-on-one, just some heavyweight action. In canon, the Dark Carnival is the exact reason why Black Demon will not be seen at the WAM anymore. Kind of gaining a little bit of a creepy aura and showing some of what they are truly capable of. However, Turner Spittler comes out on top here as he is a very capable heavyweight himself. The two don't give us the best matches. We just get an in-ring performance of 33 from Craig Bean, and Turner Spittler gets a 39. We are working with a rough penalty of really terrible morales that just lowers everyone's performances every match until we fix this, but not the worst work here from these boys. Bronson Fraley and Kitahachi Kukui getting back in the ring. Bronson Fraley really trying to return himself to main event status, and he's got some work to do. He only gets an in-ring performance of 35, not what you want to have when Kitahachi Kukui actually outperforms Bronson Fraley. We're trying to turn Fraley back into a top guy, so we're going to have to just see what we can do there. But these two get a match rating of 36 as Bronson Fraley picks up a victory and regains some momentum. Now we've got Friedrich Herzog, Rahan Marlowe, big heavyweight match, and Friedrich Herzog, no more Fritz Hattendorf in the WAM, so the pride has taken a hit there. Friedrich Herzog determined to show that he still got it as a top guy and that he was not the problem within the pride. And he gets an in-ring performance of 49 here. However, he takes a loss to Rahan Marlowe, who gets an in-ring performance of 53, matching the total match rating. And you can see here that Woodrow Gunter taking some reps here as road agent. Now that we've lost Emilio Suarez, we just can't have Friedrich Herzog do everything. So we're starting to use some of our veteran guys to fill those gaps as road agent. Now our main event of the night, a little disappointing, actually outperformed by the match in front of it, but we've got Hermenegildo Ramirez making his first defense as WHAM Junior Heavyweight Champion up against Joel Cartwright, just one-on-one straight up, and Hermenegildo Ramirez does the damn thing, taking down his first challenger. And not a bad match by any means, but it was our main event and it wasn't our best match, so that is a little unfortunate and it's not going to help our show ratings. But overall, we do get a show rating of 46, not good enough to raise our popularity, and that's exactly what we need. We are in front of 613 people, so I imagine we will be profiting thanks to our ticket sales, but top down, the effects of the morale are definitely being felt. But after the show, we praise Bronson Fraley, Woodrow Gunter, and Kuni Hashiguchi. Hopefully we can repair some of their morales. We do gain $2,000, and that is with broadcasting the show, so we are sitting in a comfortable spot to sustain the company, and that is not an issue for us right now. And then you can see that we finally bump up to 40 popularity in the Mid-South, get a non-tangible gain in the Midwest, and we're creeping up on 18 there. So all in all, a productive show for sure. And with that show, we will say goodbye to Mr. Christopher Hartwell. For the time being, he spent, I want to say like 6 years nearly with us here at the WHAM. I didn't capture any championships, but he has been collecting some belts at other companies. So I'm sure we will see Christopher Hartwell once again down the line eventually, but I'm not really, aside from some sentimental attachment, I'm not really too upset to see Christopher Hartwell go. I mentioned in one of the previous episodes that Lee Clem's wild personality, I believed it to be a net positive, but that is not the case. Natural negative impact on the backstage environment, so that means that Lee Clem is not going to be sticking around in the WHAM, despite the fact that she's got some pretty solid abilities as a female wrestler. She's just not worth the extra headache, so we are going to renegotiate her contract for one final appearance, and after that, we will be missing a piece of that new era of the women's division. And Lee Clem is actually dating Gary Cowell, so if one of them leaves, they're not really going to be thrilled about it. I think if their contract just expires, they're actually not going to get angrier about it. It pains me to say, but we got to get rid of Pickle Man again. Last time he left on his own accord, this time we're going to let him walk. And we're going to sign him for one more appearance, and unfortunately, it really does pain me to say, but Gary Cowell will not be at the WHAM for much longer. His troublemaker personality is just too confrontational. As much as I love him, he's not worth the detriment right now. But he is going to go on our short list, and we may see him again in the future, because he was putting in some decent performances, I'm not going to lie. And another one that I don't like to see leave, but I think it's going to be necessary, is Benson Sandy. Unfortunately, we just have too many mercenaries that are going to tank this morale and just prevent us from ever being able to fix it, I think. So Benson Sandy, Gary Cowell, Lee Clem, all on the chopping block here very soon. Benson Sandy and Gary Cowell have accepted the terms for one more appearance in the WHAM, still waiting on Lee Clem. However, we would not have to wait long before Lee Clem also accepted her terms, so we've got three negative personalities that will be taking their leave from backstage. Because as you can see, we have got a ton of issues to work out. Now with some positive news for a change of pace, we've got Super Monkey relocating to the southeast. Now this isn't the Mid-South, but we still don't have to pay for his travel, and he has relocated from Mexico. But he better stay away from that other company in the southeast, or else I'm going to be heated. So aside from the three negative personalities that have their contracts coming to an end, we have no natural negative influences in the locker room. Of course, everyone's still annoyed, so that's going to bring down the morale a bit, and they're a detriment in their own way there. However, if you go over and take a look at the backstage morale for just specifically tonight's show and not the company, the morale has improved from abysmal to very poor. So obviously not a fix, and we're not just going to make everything better by doing this, but it is a tangible improvement, and we're not going to see as many penalties or as harsh of penalties on our segments tonight. But with all of that out of the way, we are ready to get going into the next edition of the Fortnite Fisticuffs. Can't go without some pre-show matches these days, so we've got Kuni Hashiguchi defeating Sloan Knutson in our first pre-show match. Kuni Hashiguchi getting a nice in-ring performance of 40, Sloan Knutson down at 15, and we gave Rahan Marlowe a shot at Road Agent. He didn't do great, as you can see here, but his stats are very comparable to Friedrich Herzog, who is our main Road Agent, and Woodrow Gunter, who was kind of our secondary Road Agent. Our final pre-show match is a 4-way match between some heavyweights, trying to keep some of the boys who have really positive effects on the backstage, like August Washburn and Brian Hatcher, keep them happy, keep them used so we don't give them any extra reason to get annoyed. Kitahachi Kukui would come out victorious with the best in-ring performance of the match at a 34, and the segment rating just gets a 27. But our show gets going with a tag team match as Matu Scarborough and Rocco Lockwood defeat Chuck and Duke Wellington in some tag team action. We've got Matu Scarborough looking good, in-ring performance of 39. Rocco Lockwood much better than the 10 that he had last time, getting a 19 here. Duke Wellington at 24 and Chuck Wellington at 29. Altogether we get a match rating of 30. Not great, but given the fact that half of these guys are not good competitors, Chuck Wellington obviously underperformed, but Matu Scarborough's looking good. However, after the match, following the loss, the Wellington brothers are in disbelief. Chuck Wellington grabs the mic as Scarborough and Lockwood make their way to the back. Chuck exclaims that this is not over. So the Wellington boys, very unhappy, taking a loss to some newcomers to the Wham as Matu Scarborough and Rocco Lockwood pick up the W. Now in our next match, we've got Super Monkey and Jeremy Funderburk, the funnest team in the Wham, taking on the Dark Carnival, Blue Mage and Craig Bean. Blue Mage leading the pack here with an in-ring performance of 39. Craig Bean, I must have jinxed him. Literally in the last episode I said he never gives bad performances, and then I think in the last 2 matches he's been in have been basically the 2 lowest performances that he's almost probably ever turned in. But he does have a gimmick that is getting stale, so we're going to have to change that up a little bit. Blue Mage at 39, Craig Bean at 30, Super Monkey 37, and Funderburk at 25. He is getting better, but we just get a match rating of 33. Not the best, but we're getting our boys some reps, and that's what it's all about here at the Fortnite Fisticuffs. Another tag team action. This will send off Gary Cowell and Lee Clem. Since they are dating, I wanted to at least make their last match here a mixed tag team match. So we had RT Lincoln and Ivy Baldridge picking up the victory over Pickleman and his girlfriend. Ivy Baldridge with an in-ring performance of 25, RT Lincoln looking good at a 39, Lee Clem 24 and Gary Cowell 34. Goodbye to the troublemaking couple. Bronson Fraley will send off Benson Sandy, giving him a loss as he takes his leave from the Wham. Another just lackluster performance. Bronson Fraley at a 34, Benson Sandy with a better performance at 36, but they just get a match rating of 33 as we try to turn things around for old Bronson Fraley here. Now our main event, this is pretty much the best that we could do given the stars that we had and all the bad personalities that we had sitting on the sideline. We had a main event triple threat match between 3 prominent heavyweights. Rahan Marlowe, Sebastian Morales, and Woodrow Gunter, and Rahan Marlowe makes the case that he very much deserves a rematch for his heavyweight championship by knocking down 2 other top heavyweights. Sebastian Morales had an in-ring performance of 48, the best of the match. Woodrow Gunter at 40 and Rahan Marlowe at 47. Altogether, these boys get a match rating of 44. So overall show rating of 41, not really where we'd like to be at this point, but it is still good enough to keep our popularity going on up. And we praise RT Lincoln, Woodrow Gunter, and Bronson Fraley, who was very happy with the speech. That might just mean an actual bump in his morale. Good stuff. Gained $2,000 on this show. We're sitting good financially. And that Midwest popularity shoots up from 17 to 18. We say goodbye to Benson Sandy, Pickleman Gary Cowell, and Lee Clem. Thank you for your service. We may see them again in the future, but not anytime soon, especially considering the fact that they're all so annoyed. I don't think they have any interest in renegotiating at this time anyway. Well, I guess actually that's not entirely true. Gary Cowell would definitely come back as of right now. However, just cutting back the negative personalities isn't going to fix this issue in itself. We've got to add more positive influences to the backstage atmosphere. And our first, Jackson Barden, class clown personality. He's coming from Ontario, Canada. Assuming he accepts this contract, we're going to send him... We're going to start with an ongoing contract because I feel like that is most effective to get them to actually move over. I notice if I give them a short timed contract, they don't really move over as quickly. So we're hoping that this works. It's not an exclusive handshake, it's just a regular old handshake for good old Jackson Barden. Come on over to America, brother. However, that is not the only junior heavyweight from Canada we are going to try to pick up with an irrepressible personality type. Kamari Flanders as well, he's not too bad. We're going to send him a contract. Let's take a look at his skills. He's not super polished, but he does have some bright spots. And we're not looking for a game changer right now. We've got Hermenegildo Ramirez, we've got Archie Filer, we've got Joe Cartwright. So I'm not necessarily looking for the next game breaker in the junior heavyweight division right now, but we just need to change up this morale and this culture of this company before we can really move forward, I think. Definitely not done with the additions yet either. Marceliano Gallago, I want to say it's Gallago, given the double L, but somebody please correct me, because we're going to bring him on the roster. Marceliano Gallago, which is how I'm going to refer to him until I get some clarification. He's another guy coming hopefully from Mexico that's not going to change the game. He is a heavyweight. He's got just okay stats, but he does have a stalwart personality, which not only has a positive effect, but it will also prevent the negative effects. They'll have a much smaller impact, so to speak. So we sent a contract offer to the heavyweight, and we'll see if he joins. We are going to do a second heavyweight, and this is a big one. Max Wellham, former Wham member before he was poached by SPW, but let's just take a look at this really quick. He has been with SPW for over 2 years, and he has had maybe 10 to 12 matches, I'm not counting that entirely, less than 20 matches with SPW. So I think it's more than fair that we make a play for an exclusive handshake contract to Maxwell Ham, and I would love to have this guy back because he's actually got some really good stats, solid in the ring, excellent fundamental and physical traits, terrible toughness. Hopefully that's not the reason that SPW never uses him, because he just gets injured all the time, but good stats, nothing aside from his toughness, nothing really wrong with him, and he's got some established popularity. I'd love to bring him back. When we're not just going to unload Lee Clem without making an addition to the women's division as well. Barbiria Abeta is from Mexico. She's got some really good flashiness, nice aerial ability. She's just 5'2", 111 pounds, so she'd be flying, but not very established in anything else. She's very new, only 1 year of experience, but we're going to bring her into the Wham, and hopefully she moves over so we're not paying for any kind of travel for too long. But she's got an irrepressible personality type, but also she has got the storyteller attribute, which means she has an increased chance of entertaining people backstage, which means positive backstage interactions. We're also looking at Sheila Velasco, another Mexican wrestler. She doesn't necessarily have the same kind of appeal to me pulling me in, but she is definitely high on our short list as she's got a non-negative personality type. She's got okay stats. I think she could come in and be a mid-tier player in the women's division right away. However, all of these additions are not going to come without another departure. This is another sad one, but I've been thinking long and hard about it. Albie Dewberry, we're gonna have to give him his last appearance in the Wham for a while. He's got that mercenary personality type. It's not good for the background atmosphere. He's got good stats, and he's always been a really big part of the junior heavyweight division, and I love him for it. We basically got the next Albie Dewberry, but better, in Archie Filer. He's 11 years younger. He's already almost just as popular in the Mid-South, not quite, and he surpasses him in the ring. So Albie Dewberry is one of the toughest ones that we've got to say goodbye to, but we have made that contract offer to see if he will accept for one final appearance. And we've got our first batch of accepted contracts. Marceliano, the heavyweight, Maxwell Ham, that is good for my soul. I love it. Barbadia is coming to the WAM, and Albie Dewberry has accepted to work one more appearance, and he will then take his leave. Still waiting on Jackson Barden and Kamari Flanders, but I'm confident that we'll hear back from them soon. And you can even see that SPW and TWA, they didn't have much interest in re-signing Maxwell Ham. I just sent him a $20 contract, which in hindsight I probably should have made it a little over 20 so he didn't accept something better in an exclusive format. But it doesn't matter, we got him. And we've also got Jackson Barden and Kamari Flanders to accept their contracts as well, so we've made some positive additions to the locker room. You'll love to see it. Side note here, but we can see that Gabriela Suarez, she's been out of the WAM for close to a month and she is still unemployed. Poor girl. Before we get into the next show, you can see that Elijah Mays has decided to walk out on the WAM without giving any kind of notice. We gave him 2 weeks off, or I think it was actually like a month. I think it was 2 events off. And once he got back, he was just like, fuck this place, and he left. And that's okay with me. He was the biggest detriment to the locker room at this point in time, and I wasn't going to be able to fix it for him. We spent like nearly 10 grand on bonuses to turn things around. He's just too much of a diva. I don't have someone he's willing to lose to. And see you later, Elijah Mays. You are easily the most popular star we've actually had that's not Levi Andrews, that was an actual wrestler. But I'm really not like tripping about leaving yet. Hopefully our ticket sales don't just drop, but I think we'll be okay. Wayne Blankenship was also hired by FNP, so it's just good to see that Wayne Blankenship is still doing his thing in the world, and of course he's still with the WAM, he's not leaving, but it's just something good to see. Alright, so before we get into this next show, we are once again resting the negative personalities, but we're going to go with a hardline stance. Now, this runs the risk of some adverse walkouts, which I'm not really looking for, but we're going to take the chance. It does come with a natural backstage morale increase, so hopefully we don't lose someone like Friedrich Herzog or Woodrow Gunter or Sebastian Morales or something like that, but we're going to go ahead and give it a try, and nobody chose to walk out. We're grateful for that. But before we actually get going with the show, check this out. We've got the locker room morale improved up to poor. It went from abysmal to very poor to poor. And this is just a night show. So this is without a lot of the negative personalities like Neil Allman, Black Bull, Hermenegildo Ramirez, Archie Filer. We still sat all those guys. You can see with the positive influences that we brought in, we are now outweighing the negatives. However, just not enough. But it is encouraging. Let's get to it. Here we are, the final edition of the Fortnite Fistcuffs before the next amazing grappling spectacle. Got some pre-show matches, you know we do. Tag team action between the ladies. Barbadia Abeta and Kuni Hashiguchi. I have to game plan how I say that name every time. Taking on Ivy Baldridge and Sloane Knudsen, and Barbadia gets a victory in her debut. Not too bad here with an in-ring performance of 27. She shoots herself right to that upper middle tier of women's competitors right away. Kuni Hashiguchi had a 42, keeping herself at the top. Sloane Knudsen had an 18, she's getting better, and Ivy Baldridge had a 26. She's got some good stats, but she is incredibly inconsistent. But all in all, the ladies put together a nice, competitive match, segment rating of 31. Our next pre-show match has got 4 new faces, depending on how new you consider Jeremy Funderburk, but Jeremy Funderburk, our boy, actually led the match in performances as he got a 25. Jackson Barden said hello to the WAM with a 21. Marceliano Gallego got a 23. And Rocco Lockwood got a 21. That is consistent improvement from Rocco Lockwood, so you love to see that. These guys did an okay job getting themselves introduced to the WAM. We're just going to have to see how they fit into the roster exactly, because we really signed them for their backstage impacts, aside from Jeremy Funderburk. That's just a great name. Now the show gets going with another new face making their debut. Kamari Flanders, fortunately, is not rusty, but he just does not get a great in-ring performance, only getting a 19 here. He does have zero popularity in America, so we'll give him that benefit of the doubt for a little while. But he's in the ring with Super Monkey, who's a good competitor, who takes the victory thanks to an in-ring performance of 39. Kamari Flanders had a 19, and these boys get a match rating of 30. Now our next match, the return of Maxwell Ham. We've got Maxwell Ham picking up a victory in his first match back with an in-ring performance of 42 at that. Very good. August Washburn is in an atrocious state of both momentum and morale, so he only gets a 17 here, but we got to keep him happy so he can continue to keep everybody else happy. But we get a match rating of 32 as Maxwell Ham, so happy to have him back. More heavyweight action as Kitahachi Kukui and Matus Scarborough go one-on-one. However, Matus Scarborough has been looking good since he got here, but Kitahachi Kukui actually is the one to come out victorious in this match, thanks to Chuck Wellington running in and interfering against Matus Scarborough. So it wouldn't be blatant to necessitate a disqualification, but it would be just enough to kind of knock him down and knock him off his momentum, allow Kitahachi Kukui to gain composure and take control, win the match, basically. Not really super heelish from Kitahachi Kukui, but definitely sabotage from the Wellington brothers. In fact, after the match, the Wellington brothers launch an attack on Scarborough. The brothers show a ruthless side to their arrogant demeanors as they dismantled the newcomer. Segment rating at 24, we know the Wellington boys aren't going to wow anybody with their angles. Matus Scarborough probably doesn't have the best selling and acting to make this any better. But we get a big triple threat match. Albie Dewberry, he's been such an important part of the Wham. I wanted to just leave the option open for him scoring a victory on his way out, and he does just that. Albie Dewberry actually topples Joel Cartwright and RT Lincoln in a triple threat match. However, Albie Dewberry is making his final appearance in the Wham, at least for the time being, for any foreseeable future. So Joel Cartwright, RT Lincoln kind of at odds with one another since neither of them could get the job done, and that may just create some tensions later on, but we get a segment rating of 39 thanks to the triple threat from the junior heavyweights. Now the main event delivered, and it will definitely help our overall show performance, but we get some 6-man tag team action as Rohan Marlowe, Woodrow Gunter, and Sebastian Morales topple Bronson Fraley and Friedrich Herzog and Oscar Kohler. Oscar Kohler still sticking around, getting the opportunity to be a part of the Pride with Friedrich Herzog, even though Fritz Hattendorf has been cut to the curb and their status as a stable is kind of up in the air right now. But we do see some good performances. Sebastian Morales at 50, Gunter at 42, Marlowe 49, Bronson Fraley getting back up there at a 39, Friedrich Herzog at a 54, but Oscar Kohler way down there at a 22. However, altogether, we get a segment main event rating of 46, which carries us to an overall show rating of 43, which is not going to bump us up in the Mid-South, I don't think, but it will bump us up in the Midwest. We praised RT Lincoln, Friedrich Herzog, and Bronson Fraley. After the show, we profit $2,350, and we do gain some non-tangible popularity in the Midwest. And thank you, Albie Dewberry, but he has made his last appearance in the Wham for the time being. Friedrich Herzog does not believe in Jackson Barden. However, we believe in Jackson Barden. Since Elijah Mays has left the company, we are going to need to find a new client for the great Matsuo. And I don't think any better client other than Maxwell Ham. He's got okay performance abilities, but I think his presence can be amplified by the exceptional performance abilities of the great Matsuo. So this is our general locker room morale now. We're just at poor with everybody back there. That is huge. We were just at abysmal at the start of this episode, so we have really turned things around, and that's big, honestly. I've got to take note of the guys that have negative influences while they are unhappy, because that may be our biggest chance to turn things around. If we could turn around the great Matsuo, eliminate Sebastian Morales and RT Lincoln's negative influences, we may just be able to get out of this morale rut, because we've got some positive influences back there, and that is going to be huge. Looking at the other notable factors, the backstage rules are having a negative effect on morale. This was never the case until I implemented the chiropractor for 1 week and then removed it. So I think I may have just shot myself in the foot with that. However, we do have some financial flexibility that may just allow us to go back to doing that. It is $2,000 a night, I want to say, but we are definitely clearing $2,000 a night in profit pretty much every show. We don't have many of them, but we are going to try to use some creative ideas to hopefully alleviate some of these morale issues Woodrow Gunter's was a success, but he's still annoyed. We do have an unspecified character idea, which let's go ahead and give it a try. It was a success. He's still annoyed. We've got the money. I'm going to give him a $1,000 bonus, and he's still annoyed. Golly. Okay, I'm not going to do this very often, but let's try a $2,500 bonus. Still annoyed. I don't know if we're ever getting out of that one. That's unfortunate. Okay. And here we are. The Amazing Grappling Spectacle 85. We've come so far since the humble beginnings in 1925. But we've got some pre-show matches. The ladies start us off with a triple threat. Ivy Baldridge taking the match against Berberia Abeta and Sloan Knutson. And we're seeing Abeta turn in some nicer performances. She got a 31, matching Ivy Baldridge's 31. Sloan Knutson down there at 18. This match was a little too long for these ladies, but no worries, they got a match rating of 21 to get us going. Another pre-show match, tag team action, as we've got August Washburn and Jeremy Funderburk teaming up to take on Jackson Barton and Kamari Flanders. While the match wasn't really that good, August Washburn and Jeremy Funderburk do pick up a victory as these boys continue to get themselves acclimated, or in August Washburn's case, reacclimated, as the veteran of the group actually had the lowest performance of the whole match. Funderburk at 25, Washburn 21, Flanders at 28, and Barton at 26. Now to get the show going, we've got Chuck Wellington in the ring along with Duke, holding the vacant tag team championships. Chuck mentions it's been too long since the Wham tag team titles were carried, and he thinks he's found the perfect resolution. Chuck claims that his scheduled one-on-one match with Matu Scarborough has now been changed to a match for the vacant tag team titles. Chuck promises that he's found a suitable partner for Scarborough, one with championship pedigree. Segment rating of 33 here, and I tried piecing up the angles and parts last time and it just didn't work from a presentation standpoint, so we're just doing them as individual pieces. Matu Scarborough fearlessly makes his way from the back to accept the challenge, vigilant to the impending shenanigans from the Wellingtons. After a short time, Scarborough's partner is revealed. Angus Wellington, a former tag team champion, makes his way to compete in this title match. Scarborough isn't surprised by the chicanery, and the odds were well against him when Angus moved to the opposite corner to cheer on his brothers. As the match began, Scarborough had his back against the wall, and the match would carry on as a handicap format until we would see Rocco Lockwood come down to put an end to the BS carried out by the Wellington brothers, and we have got a proper tag team match to get the night going, as Duke and Chuck Wellington had the perfect position to regain tag team championships, but they actually failed. Rocco Lockwood and Matu Scarborough would take home the victory and the tag team championships. Matu Scarborough pinning Duke Wellington to pick up the victory in a huge moment that shocked the Wellington brothers. They thought that they had a foolproof plan to capture the tag team titles in a handicap scenario, however it just didn't play out that way. Rocco Lockwood and Matu Scarborough would win the match and eventually be crowned as the official tag team champions. Match rating of 28. But actually, before I skip through, let's check out these numbers. Duke Wellington 24, Chuck 30, Rocco Lockwood 22, and Matu Scarborough at a 34. Matu Scarborough is off his game, and he's already feeling the effects of the morale in the locker room, as he is either irritated or annoyed. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. But moving on into the next match, we've got Kuni Hashiguchi taking on Veronica Letter one-on-one, and Kuni Hashiguchi is basically acknowledged as the #1 woman in the Wham, especially with Gabriela Suarez gone. However, Veronica Letter picks up a big upset victory, defeating Kuni Hashiguchi, putting her down. And we've got some parity at the top of the women's division now. Kuni Hashiguchi with an in-ring performance of 44. Not much parity there. She is unseated as the best in the ring. Veronica Letter had an in-ring performance of 35, and you can see this plus down here. Veronica Letter has a strong connection with the young female demographic who really liked her winning. So just some ulterior motivation to strap the rocket to Veronica Letter. We'll see how it goes. But the ladies give us a match rating at 37. Moving on into the next match, big triple threat between some heavyweights, and really good performances all around, honestly. We had Woodrow Gunter taking home the victory against Black Bull and Maxwell Ham. Match rating of 40, and we actually had to keep Black Bull strong in this, so it could have been even better. But Woodrow Gunter in-ring performance of 46, Black Bull at a 44, and Maxwell Ham The man put up a 49 in his, I think it's his second, maybe his third match back, but Max Wellham proving that he was a reasonable pickup, a reasonable pluck, if you will, from SPW, stealing him back as they nabbed him from us originally. So who knows where he could be by now if he just stayed with the Wham. But moving on. Sebastian Morales taking on Marceliano Gallago in a one-on-one contest. No story behind this one, we just wanted to get Sebastian in the ring and with a familiar face at that, as Marceliano was a longtime member of Viva La Lucha. However, big discrepancy here between these two competitors. Sebastian Morales with an in-ring performance of 54, more than doubling Marceliano's performance of a 25. So Marceliano may have some work to do if he wants to be a legitimate part of the landscape in the Wham. However, he does contribute positively to the backstage, so he's got a place here with us for now. Match rating of 44 as our night continues to get better. And we took a big drop off there. I spoke too soon. After Sebastian Morales' match, you would see Turner Spittler come in and attack Sebastian Morales. Just starting a little bit of a feud between these two, and Turner Spittler not on this card, and he finds a way to get on the card. Segment rating at 34. Now our matches continue to climb as we've got some junior heavyweights putting on a great match. We've got Archie Filer and junior heavyweight champion Hermenegildo Ramirez defeating Joel Cartwright and RT Lincoln, as Hermenegildo Ramirez pinned Joel Cartwright. Now this picks up a little bit from the last fortnight fisticuffs. Joel Cartwright and RT Lincoln were in a triple threat against Albie Dewberry. Albie Dewberry was able to weather the storm and come out victorious, so now Joel Cartwright and RT Lincoln facing a little bit of tension with one another, blaming each other for their shortcomings. But the champion and a really, really good worker in Archie Filer both come out on top. And we didn't give it a segment, but Archie Filer and Hermenegildo Ramirez do have a little bit of a face-off after the match, as they both recognize that they are looking at a really good junior heavyweight. And game recognizes game, basically. So Filer and Ramirez pick up the victory here. Match rating of 53. Ramirez had a 57. Filer had a 61, my god. RT Lincoln 37 and Joe Cartwright at 46. Good work, boys. Now our main event, not the best match of the night, which is unfortunate, but we do have Neil Allman successfully defending his heavyweight championship against Rahan Marlowe in a big heavyweight championship match. Highly anticipated. There were some shenanigans the last time they faced. These boys deliver a nice match rating of 50, and Neil Allman with an in-ring performance of 57. Great work there. Rahan Marlowe at a 50, not bad from him as well. And we see the confirmation, the re-justification that Neil Allman is in fact that man here in the Wham, as he defends his heavyweight championship successfully. However, after the match, Super Monkey confronts Neil Allman, making it clear he disagrees with the champion's approach. However, given that Neil Allman is working more of a heelish style, kind of doing whatever it takes to keep Rahan Marlowe down and keep his spot as champion. However, things would take an unexpected turn when Bronson Fraley struck down Super Monkey. There was a momentary pause between Allman and Fraley, though the two would ultimately celebrate the triumph, standing tall in unison. So I forgot to put in the championship match, but Bronson Fraley would make an appearance and ultimately end up distracting Rahan Marlowe. Neil Allman would take advantage of that and secure his championship in that fashion. However, in this development, Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley are probably like the OG rivalry, you know, heavyweights going at it. Bronson Fraley was Frank Norris's boy. Neil Allman was kind of the main resistance to that. But now we are seeing almost like the two-man power trip in my mind a little bit, just in terms of who they are to the company. But Bronson Fraley and Neil Allman are standing tall at the end of the show and making a big statement to the rest of the Wham. Two Wham OGs at that. Segment rating of 45 as the show comes to an end. Overall, we get a show rating of 48, which will increase our popularity in both regions, which is nice to see. And all in all, the card was pretty solid. You know, the undercard definitely was weaker, but the mid-card was really solid, and our main events, both in the heavyweight and junior heavyweight scene, they really delivered, and you'd love to see it. We praised Kuni Hashiguchi, Rahan Marlowe, and Hermenegildo Ramirez after the show, still profiting $1,841 for the show, broadcasted and held as our big monthly event. Popularity increases from 18 and 19 in the Midwest, still staying at 40 in the Mid-South. So another big event in the books, and you can see, just taking a look at our title history a little bit, all of our championships started at Prestige 0. So you've got Prestige of 20 for our Heavyweight Championship, 20 for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, and the Tag Team Championships are back. Current Prestige 2. Matu Scarborough and Rocco Lockwood will be leading the charge as new Tag Team Champions. Of course, Hermenegildo Ramirez, 43 days into his first Junior Heavyweight Championship reign, and Neil Allman, the two-time Heavyweight Champion. Just looking at these, Rahan Marlowe, 434 days as Heavyweight Champion, 12 defenses. He's definitely the most vigilant Heavyweight Championship reign that we've ever seen here in the WHAM. Of course, that does come with a little bit of the adaptation into the Fortnite fisticuffs and everything. We're just running more shows, but a historic reign for Rahan Marlowe. And now, we don't do this a lot, but we're just going to take a look at everyone's popularity in the Mid-South here on the WHAM. It's amazed me that we've got him this far, but Angus Wellington actually has 25 popularity in the Mid-South. Archie Filer is built up to 30 already since coming over just a few months ago. Let's check his progress. And you can see here, a year ago he was 10. From January to now, which is 4 months basically, he's gone from 17 to 30 popularity here in the Mid-South. Archie Filer is going to be big. He's only 21. August Washburn, 10 popularity despite him being a WHAM OG, basically 9 years of experience and 6 of them being spent at the WHAM. However, he is definitely more just a backstage presence. Barnabas, of course, he's got 0. We haven't used him at any capacity at all. He has got no skills. We've got a little bit of performance ability, but Barnabas Beef Wellington is not an on-screen character. Barbedia is moving on up. She's gone from 0 to 6 Mid-South since she's joined. Black Bull up at 30. Blue Mage 27. Brian Hatcher's a 20. Bronson Fraley's getting back up there. He's just at 30 right now. We got to change that. Bryant Hines at 26. Chris Brownfield at 26. Kind of just by proxy since he is the manager of Turner Spittler. Anytime Turner Spittler appears, Chris Brownfield is there as well. Chuck Wellington at 21, it's kind of fluctuated a little bit. Cody Tower 28 in the Mid-South. Craig Bean 23. Diego Bergen 26. Duke Wellington down there at 14, the least popular of all the Wellington brothers. Friedrich Herzog, big 40. Hermenegildo Ramirez 43 in the Mid-South. Ivy Baldridge getting up there at a 15. Our benchmark is kind of 20 right now. Kind of really separating the wrestlers that are ready to be a main part of the show from those that are not. Jackson Barden still getting introduced to America. We're just at a 3 for him right now. 17 for Mr. Jeremy Funderburk. He's on his way. And remember, he was introduced to the database just at the start of the year, so he's gone from 0 to 17 in just a few months. Joel Cartwright at 31. Kamari Flanders at 5. Kenny Lyles, the Honorable Kenny Lyles, 30. 25 for Kitahachi Kukui, he's getting up there a little bit. Kuni Hashiguchi, 19. Layla Pascal, 5, we haven't seen her for a while. Marceliano is at a 10 in the Mid-South. He's got a little bit of popularity in Mexico, decent stats, but you can see we've got some work to do before he becomes a legit part of the roster. Matu Scarborough getting up to 25 already here in the Mid-South. Of course, he does have some presence thanks to TEW, which has helped establish some popularity already, but he is tag team champion, so that'll help him. Maxwell Ham up at a 23. Neil Allman, our heavyweight champion, 43. Oscar Kohler, 18. Randy Edson, 19, another backstage guy. Rahan Marlowe, 43. Rocco Lockwood is shot up to 11. RT Lincoln's at a 29, very respectable. Riker Zucker, 28. Sebastian Morales, 37, but over in Mexico he's got the highest of 48 in Centro. Sloan Knutson at 11. Super Monkey at 24 here in the Mid-South. The Great Matsuo at 25. Turner Spittler, 35. Veronica Lutter built her way up to 20. And Wayne Blankenship, he's really just part of the welcoming crew. But he's got a popularity of 14 in the Mid-South, 26 over in the Tri-State as he is more of an FNP guy. But you can see here that he is a former WHAM Junior Heavyweight Champion. I believe he was the first WHAM Junior Heavyweight Champion, and a former Tag Team Champion alongside Rohan Marla. So the man has got an identity in the wrestling world. Good for him. And now that we don't have Christopher Hartwell on our booking team, we are going to add a new addition. Veronica Lutter has got a booking skill of 65, the highest amongst those that are not already on the booking skill. I don't want to make it too big, but she's got a 65, Kuni Hashiguchi's got a 55, Kenny Wiles 10, and Friedrich Herzog 45. So I think Veronica Lutter, let's add her to the team, and I'm sure she will fit in well. I know there's not a ton of people watching, but I just wanted to say thank you. If you are one of those who have been sticking around, I appreciate you a ton. You guys are the only reason that I keep making these videos, other than the fact that it's fun, of course. But to the little nucleus of people that follow and keep up with the WHAM, I appreciate you a whole lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.